Hello and welcome to the Kellie Page Unfiltered podcast. In light of March being Endometriosis Awareness Month, I wanted to launch my brand new limited series, the Endopreneur Chronicles. In this series, I will be chatting with some powerhouse entrepreneurs, business owners, and even some medical professionals lined up that either personally have endo or specialise in the field. We will chat about journeys, businesses, and of course, some controversial conversations. This may be more than a limited series, but you didn't hear that from me. Now, let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to introduce my first guest, not only on the Kellie Page Unfiltered podcast, but also my first guest on the new series, the Endopreneur Chronicles. In today's episode, I chat with the owner of Kosi, Kellie Johnson, the founder of the world's first 360-degree heat pack. With over 1,000 heat packs sold in the first 6 months of launching her business, while she was also heavily pregnant. Kellie is changing lives all over the world with her revolutionary product and design. Since this interview, Kellie has gone viral over multiple platforms and networks, with all stock she had available completely selling out and needing to open pre-sales while waiting for the next batch of stock. This is such an incredibly valuable episode where we chat about Kellie's diagnosis and trying to conceive journey, navigating launching her business while also managing her endo and pregnancy, and we cannot forget about the sprinkle of controversial chats about the medical industry. Let's get into it. Hello, Kellie. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Before we get into today's chat, I would love if you could introduce yourself and what you do.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Kellie and I'm the founder of Kosi, which is a new innovative heat pack that I invented that basically you can wear around your waist and it will heat your tummy and your back 360 degrees.
Amazing. And you're changing so many women's lives with your device. Absolutely genius. Absolutely genius. So I'll get straight into the questions. So the first one I have for you is, what was your endometriosis diagnosis journey like?
Yeah, it took a long time for me to get diagnosed. I think I probably had it right from the beginning because my first period when I was 12 was really, really bad and a doctor had to come to our house. I remember that. But I didn't get diagnosed till well over 10 years later. And I was a bit different to a normal person because I got diagnosed from an ultrasound, which I think is pretty rare. So I didn't get surgery then for another 10 years after that. So I had something called a chocolate cyst, which is a really big solid mass that basically hemorrhages and causes more scar tissue. And because it was visible on the ultrasound, they knew I had endo without doing a laparoscopy.
Wow, that's incredibly rare to actually get diagnosed via an ultrasound, but so incredible for you that you didn't have to go through, an invasive surgery.
It was interesting because I did have a lap surgery in 2019, and then when I was diagnosed that it had reoccurred was also by a not typical method. It was via MRI. And they could see that my bowel had become stuck to my not my uterus, my ovary. So both times it was from a really unusual way of being told.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's hard, obviously, going through that as well and being diagnosed in that way, but obviously you're getting validation. But at the same time, especially, finding out that your bowel is attached to your ovary, that's something I found out a couple months ago, and you're just like, what? Oh my God, I didn't even, you have no idea, and the body does such weird things.
Yeah, it was actually really traumatic at the time as well because they could see that something was on my ovary on an ultrasound, right? This was before the bowel thing I found out. And they could just see it was solid and vascular. They couldn't figure out what they were looking at. And if you see something on your ovary that's solid and vascular, that's normally a bad sign. So they completely freaked me out that I might have ovarian cancer. That's why they sent me for the MRI. Like, this all happened really fast. I was told, like, if you have to have chemo, like, this is quite serious, blah blah. And I didn't have kids yet. I was like, I want to have kids. Like, this is terrible news. And I was just like absolutely panicking. And then they told me it was my endometriosis and that what they could see was my bowel. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, the things that happen to our bodies when we have endometriosis, like, you just can't make these things up, can you?
Oh, you really can't. And I swear I had a similar experience with my ultrasound. And I feel like they shouldn't just say anything. If there's
No.
something there, you just need a couple more scans. Don't go and freak us out
Yeah.
because you just don't need that.
I'll never get
Espe-
that week of my life back where I thought the absolute worst. It was so, so traumatic.
oh my God, I could imagine yeah, not really something anyone should have to go through,
Yeah.
but we can't do anything about it, unfortunately. So we just
No,
got to move through it as best
that's
as we
right.
can.
Hmm.
How did your endometriosis journey and diagnosis push you to start your own business?
Yeah, like, obviously when you have endometriosis, a heat pack is your best friend. So I loved heat packs, but I also kind of hated them. You know what I mean? Like, if you know, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I needed them, but also they just weren't that great. So, you know, like, the heat packs are obviously designed to sit on your uterus, but my pain doesn't stay where my uterus is. I know that's like the logical conclusion, but that's not how it works.
No.
My pain just takes over my whole body, to be honest, but especially in my back, it goes down my legs, like, it just spreads outwards. And so I kind of wanted just to create this for myself, to be honest. But then when I first tried on my really bad samples that I made at home, like, you'd literally laugh if you saw them, they were terrible. But when I first put it in, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, it literally stopped the pain so much quicker because it was surrounding the whole uterus. And so I don't know if you find this, but if I can nip my pain in the bud early, I have a much better time. And if my pain kind of gets out of control, it's really hard for me to bring it back under control.
Yeah.
So, for me, the two main things is like take my painkillers early and get like really sufficient heat onto that area straight away. So that was the other thing I really liked about like a microwave heat pack. Obviously, the downside is you have to keep reheating it. But I used to have an electric one. I literally just gave it away to someone for free because by the time I would heat it up, like, it's too late. I have
Yeah.
to get onto it like really quickly.
Yeah. Within that
So
2 minutes.
yeah, like, 2 minutes is all I've got, and then to be honest, then I'm screwed. Like, my pain's
Yeah.
taken over by then. So I just really found it so helpful, and I just thought I have to make this for other people because surely someone else will find it helpful.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, I literally one day was in a really bad flare up and I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to try and make my own. My lord, this was epic fail. Did not work at all. Stuff flying everywhere. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
this is not my zone of genius.
yeah.
But
The same thing happened to
I'm the
me.
exact same. I have to get onto it super quickly
Yeah,
because even with pain relief, if you're already up here, it takes so
yeah,
much more to get you back to
yeah,
like manageable. I'm not going to say zero because we both
yeah,
know, especially with chronic illnesses, you never get to zero. But it's so much easier if you've only got like 50% of the way than 100% of the way to come back down. So,
yeah.
so incredible. And you're getting such incredible testimonials and reviews as well.
Yeah, it's so nice to see. Obviously, you never really know until you release a product. Like, is it just you? Maybe everyone else is going to think it's really terrible. So when I get loads of DMs from people all the time who reach out and they just say, like, I can't believe this doesn't exist. I know, like, it's crazy. I can't believe that it didn't exist either because it seems
Yeah.
really obvious once it exists, right? But
Oh,
to come up
100%.
with that concept, it was actually really hard. Like, I think once you see Kosi, you're like, oh, that makes total sense. But for me to get there, it took me a long time to figure out how to make what I needed. and how to get a product where there wasn't Velcro scratching my back, or like how could I get it to fit neatly to my body so it wouldn't fall down. Like there's just so much involved when you're inventing something for the first time. So it really means so much that people really love the product.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing. You think it would exist, but it honestly doesn't.
Yeah.
And the closest thing is like the really long ones that someone's grandma made, and it just
Yeah.
smells. You know the smell.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah. But it's just so, so incredible. This has literally reminded me I need to get my hand on one because I have the electric one. It just isn't the same.
It's
It's not the
not.
same.
Yeah.
But so, so
I really
incredible.
like
So
that
did
the
you
fillings of like a normal heat pack, they can really mold like softly to your body as well. I don't know, like I literally called the brand Kosi because I just find them so cozy. And I just haven't really found that
Yep.
same effect from other forms of heat that I could put in that area.
It's very different, and I think because you can mold it kind of
Yeah.
exactly how you need it, it's less rigid, I guess.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
just yeah, they're amazing, and you've obviously been very successful in doing this and releasing it. I believe it's been 6 months since you actually released it.
Yeah, I think it's actually 6 months today. I didn't
Oh
even
my
realize until
god.
you said it just now, but it was 1st of August. I'm not great at
Well,
maths,
happy
but I'm
6
pretty sure
months.
that's 6 months today.
I think it is. I
Yeah.
think it is. Oh my god, well,
Well, what a
happy
great way to celebrate, to chat to you.
that's so exciting.
Thank
Oh my
you.
god. So how many do you know how many you've, like, sold over the last 6 months?
About 1,000.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's insane, and you've packed
Yeah.
all these by hand.
Yeah. When we went viral on TikTok was actually crazy because my daughter was sick and I was living in hospital with her for a little while. And we literally got discharged from hospital. And I think we went viral on TikTok the next day. And I was just so not prepared. Like, I feel like I'd been in prison for 5 weeks. Like, I wasn't used to being out in the world. And then
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? We were getting like an order per minute. I had to pack, I think, 300 orders in like 48 hours or something crazy. My fingers were literally bleeding. It
Oh
was
my
insane.
god. Oh my god, that is hectic, especially,
Yeah,
obviously, after just getting out of hospital with your daughter as well.
I know.
Going back to civilization and having to do all
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I was just planning to
Crazy.
chill and relax for a bit, but that's just not how the world works, is it?
No, and not when you have something as good as you do as well with your product.
Thank you.
Like, it's obviously so needed, especially with the uprising, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, of, like,
hmm
endometriosis diagnoses.
Do you know what? I think that's a really good word because that's like makes me think of, some terrible thing like coming to take over something. And that's literally what endometriosis does to our body. But I don't know, like, obviously, the statistics say there's more people with endo. I don't think that's actually the case. I think we just all, as a community, have done a great job of bringing more awareness. Like, we all educate others more than the medical community does, right? Like, we spread the word more. I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but people will often come to me and ask, like, could I have endo? How did you know
Yeah.
you had endo? How did you find out? Like, what did you ask your doctor? We're really doing that good work to help people go and get diagnosed. It still takes a really long time, but I think the increase is because we're starting to make a difference in that way.
Oh, 100%, and that's literally why I started my podcast, because literally every second day someone would be messaging me, and I was like, I'm having this, like, obviously so blessed and so grateful to be able to share my knowledge and my own experiences, but I was like, I'm having this same conversation every second day. I'm just like, we just need to do a podcast, get it all
Yeah.
out there, and it just there's not enough information, and the doctors don't do shit,
No.
basically, so we're both well aware of that.
I
They
know.
got
I
all the
feel
money, but we do the help.
like I feel like years ago when I first found out I had endo, if I told someone, they'd be like, no idea, like, what is that? But I think a lot more of the time now people do know what it means. And my automatic reaction is not to explain what it is. I can usually assume that they know, which is so nice.
Yeah, 100%. And it's good that there's more awareness out there and more people
Mm,
are actually getting answers, because there's nothing worse than obviously being gaslit and being told there's nothing
yeah.
there, that you're crazy. No, you're not. Your
Yeah,
doctor's just shit, basically.
I know. We really do need to work on collaborating with health professionals a lot more because
Yeah,
I actually work with doctors in my regular job that I've had like before Kosi. And so I talk to specialists all the time. So I have a really unique perspective of knowing
yeah.
it's like thousands of them as people that I've worked with for years, and then being the patient on the other side. And it's just so hard to like explain to them why it's important for patients to have a voice because they get really offended. They think, I spent maybe whatever 10 years at school. They don't really value my opinion and they get really hurt feelings about it. But we've lived with our body our whole life, 24 hours a day. No one's more invested in getting the right answer than us. So we really should be working together. I'm the expert in me, you're the expert in whatever medical stuff you've learned. Together, let's figure out what's going on with my body. But it really should be a joint conversation.
I love that so, so much. So much. And it's a huge thing as well because, and this is not me saying that doctors are shit, it's you cannot know everything about
Mm,
everything.
yeah.
Like, they only have so much knowledge, and obviously
Mm,
they're at university for a very long time,
yeah.
but you're not going to learn everything. So it's, again, as you said, finding the professionals that actually know or that are willing
Mm,
to further educate,
yeah.
because without that, we'll literally get nowhere.
Yeah. I think my fertility journey is a great example because I went through that for 4 years. I had read like every article there was to read. I was definitely more up to date on things than them because I was obsessed. Like,
Yeah.
when you finish work, I guarantee you don't go home and read hours and hours and books and all the stuff that I was doing. So, it was very similar. I had to try and find a specialist who was willing to listen to my opinion because if I went in and they didn't know as much as I did, I was like, this is going to be a waste of time already. I can tell.
Yeah. Especially when you're putting so much money out, whether it's for an
Mm,
endometriosis or fertility, you're putting
yeah.
so much money out. You want to make
Yeah.
sure that you know what you're talking about so they're not bullshitting you.
100%. We've all wasted hundreds of dollars on something that we know was just useless information. I
Yeah.
know I've been told that I had depression when I was crying about my pain when I didn't. And I knew because I'd had depression before, so I was very offended. I was told I had, I'm going to say this wrong, fibromyalgia. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's
Yeah.
like you feel pain, I think, just from like anything touching you or
Yeah.
don't quote me on that. Don't come for me if you've got that condition and I've got that wrong. But obviously that was not what I had, and they wanted me to take medication. That one of the side effects was brain shocks. Like I remember reading that on the warning
Oh my
label, and I
God.
said no, I'm not taking it. And I didn't even have that condition. So I think we've all shelled out hundreds of dollars for something that was just bad advice.
100%.
Where's my
Oh,
refund? Like, we don't get
yes.
refunds.
Like, Medicare does not cover
Yeah,
enough. You pay all these hundreds of
100%.
dollars and you get like $40 back. You're like,
Yeah.
awesome. Love this.
How about I pay according to the success of my surgery? If
Oh my God. We'd be
10%
so
of it,
wealthy.
yeah, if 10% of it doesn't recur, I'll pay you 10% of the fee. Yeah, we're going to rule the world, Kayla. We've just got to change the rules.
Yes.
Now
I'm
we've just
down
got
for
to get
that.
everyone else on board.
Yeah. I love that. So, what have you found the most challenging about running a business with your endo and chronic illness?
Mm. I think the hardest thing was the majority of my time running the business so far has been when I was pregnant, and my endo definitely affected my pregnancy. So I would get a lot of pain and like pulling feelings and cramps and all kinds of stuff. And obviously, it's not great to be lifting boxes when you're pregnant, but I would try to be really careful. And you're supposed to be allowed to do like some kind of exercise when you're pregnant. But I would feel like anytime I tried, I just felt like cramping in my uterus all the time, which I think was my endo lesions. And you might not know this, but when you're pregnant, your organs rearrange.
Yes.
You might find this an issue as well one day, because if your organs are stuck together with endo, that can cause a bit of an issue with the rearranging part. So, yeah, it was just a lot of extra layers of complication that someone else might not have had to deal with.
Yeah, 100%. And especially how old's your daughter now? Was it
She's
5,
4 months.
4 months? Yeah. So for 2 of those months, you were so heavily pregnant and launching a business, like, that would have
Mm,
been crazy.
yeah,
Absolutely crazy,
absolutely.
but especially with, like, the adhesions and anything like that, it
Yeah.
does obviously give you some more complications, I
Mm.
guess.
Even with the design process, when I was creating Kosi was when I was right in the middle of my IVF journey. So Lola's not an IVF baby, but when I was creating Kosi, I was right in the thick of like having miscarriages, doing egg collections, egg transfers, that not working, losing babies, and
Yeah.
that's obviously all to do with endometriosis, and that was just so difficult. And I would go through periods at times where I kind of wouldn't touch Cozy for a while because I was just dealing with those things. So it really does just creep into every part of your life. And I'm sure anyone listening could resonate that sometimes your endo does just get the best of you and you will just kind of stop doing other things in life because it just fills up that space and doesn't leave room for anything else. And I think you've just got to be kind to yourself when that happens. And just wait till things get a little bit better, and that's okay.
100%. And especially for anyone with endometriosis or any other chronic illnesses, like, we are not the same as other people where they can, go and work or have this like really strict routine, getting up at 4 a.m. and doing all these weird things. Like, we physically cannot do that. And
100%.
it's
I
not spoken
remember,
about enough.
yeah, definitely. I remember the year before I had my laparoscopy, I ended up in hospital, I don't know, let's say like 12 times. And it might have been my first year with this job. I can't remember. I don't think I'd been there for that long. So, you kind of have that vibe like people don't know you yet. They don't know, like, is she taking the piss? She's always calling in sick, whatever. So, after the first couple of times, I would try not to talk about it. And I didn't really want them to know. I worked in sales, so I was out on the road all the time. So, it was normal to not be in the office. So I would just take my laptop with me when I would go to the emergency room and I would work from my hospital bed because I didn't want them to judge me.
Oh my
And
God.
I think looking back, it's kind of sad that I felt the need to do that, but I'm sure there's people listening who have probably felt the same. And you do feel like you have to do more to try and keep up with normal people, I guess. And like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, we're not normal and we
Yeah.
shouldn't have to try to feel like we are.
Yeah. 100%. Like, we have very different levels in general. Like, most people will sit at a 0 with their pain and go from 0 to 10, but people don't realize that with chronic illnesses, it's usually like a 0 to like maybe 12 or 15
Yeah.
because your standard might be like a 2 or a 3.
Mm,
And
for
it's
sure.
definitely, yeah, not enough awareness around it. And I completely understand that, especially with like workplaces. I know I was in a male dominated industry and oh my God, the things
That's
you
a tough
hear or get told.
conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially stuck in their ways, unwilling to compromise, and, they didn't ask for it, but you as the person on the other side, you didn't ask for it either.
Mm. Yeah, that's exactly right. And you do. I just remember very clearly feeling like I was a bit of a burden
Yeah.
because I was having these issues and I was really embarrassed. I think embarrassed is probably the word that comes to me the most about how endo has made me feel over the years, particularly from like really young, like the first maybe 10 years of having endo. I feel like when you're a young girl, it feels really embarrassing that this is happening to you. Like, why is my body doing this? I just want to be like my friends at school. It's a very hard thing to come to terms with at first.
Oh, 100%. And I'm very similar to you. I feel like our stories are very similar. But I started having it so young as well. And, when you're 12 and going through all these things, and some girls don't even have boobs yet, and you're having all
Yeah,
these issues, and you just feel very alone and isolated.
yeah. I
Yeah.
I know completely what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely horrific. And I really hope this starts changing for, your daughter and my future children, so that way any future children really, they don't have to go through the
Mm,
10 plus years of getting answers. But it's just, yeah, I'm glad we're moving in the right direction now, though.
yeah, absolutely. It's just so common that it should almost just be a part of normal screening, I think. Like my sister found out she had endo because she had her appendix removed and she woke up and they're like, "Oh, did you know you have endometriosis?" Like it shouldn't get to that point, right?
No, no, definitely not. And you think about how many people have had their appendixes removed, and you're like, was that ever your appendix?
Yeah, we were talking
Probably
about
not.
that on my cozy stories the other day and how many people actually resonated with that. I think it was originally shared by the Endo Space, maybe, and they were doing some surveys of people. And it sounds like a very common thing that gets confused. The other thing I know gets confused a lot, which happened to me, is IBS and endo.
Yes.
Interesting thing about IBS that a doctor explained to me working in the medical industry, IBS just basically means they don't really know why you're getting
Yes.
these symptoms. It's just like you're
Yes.
getting bowel symptoms. So if we ruled out all the other stuff, we call it IBS. So
Yeah.
I
So you
had
have an
all like,
answer.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So I did, the endoscopies and colonoscopies and all that stuff. And they like, oh no, we can't figure it out. You've got IBS. So I think that's another one where people probably don't really have this thing called IBS. It's actually just
Mm-mm.
endometriosis affecting their bowels.
Yep. Oh, I feel this so much. And I believe that, like, the exact same. I said this to my mum a couple years ago. Like, they just call it that. So you kind of
Yeah.
go away. You've got some sort of answer now. And it's,
Yeah.
no, this is not normal.
It probably stands for it's BS.
Yeah, I like that. I
Bullshit.
really like that. I actually, I'm using that. That is so incredible. Oh my
Or I
God.
call bullshit. That's what I'll tell the doctor next time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's so good. Oh my God. So, if there is someone listening to this right now, listening to this episode, they're struggling with their journey or diagnosis, or maybe navigating both business and endometriosis or chronic illness, do you have anything you would say to them or any advice you'd tell them?
I suppose it would be different for the different questions. So, in terms of navigating endo, I'd probably recommend to kind of find your community, right? Because that was something that I never did until I started my cozy journey. I didn't even know there were endo dedicated accounts. I didn't know people were sharing information online. Like, I maybe knew one person in my real life who had told me they also have endo. Crazy because I must know so many people, but you just
Mhm.
don't talk about it. And so
Yep.
when I created this account, I was like, wow, there's this whole world of people that could be supporting me, and look how much they all support each other. So if you don't know that that's a thing, go look it up and find the community. They're great.
Yeah.
In terms of managing endo and business, that's a really tough one because if you're having a flare, it's pretty unrealistic to think that you're going to be able to do things like pack orders or put on a smile and answer a grumpy customer's email. Like, let's be real, nobody wants to do that if they're in pain. So I
Yeah.
think having some good support systems, like for me, that's my partner Phil right now. Thank the Lord for him because he packs all the orders when I can't and he does all the things and he's fantastic. But I think that's probably really good general advice if you've got endo as well, is just let people help you.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple, but I think a lot of us don't really do that.
100%. You try to be just like this big, strong woman. You're
Yeah.
like, I don't need no man. I don't need no doctor. I don't need this.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes it so much harder on yourself.
Yeah. I think it's common in anyone who has some kind of physical impairment, and that's what endo is.
Yeah.
We all just want to be able to push past it and be independent and not let it define us. And that's great. Like, that's a very good goal to have. But if you need help sometimes, or even if you don't, like, just let people help you.
Yeah.
It really is like people want to help you, that it's not really putting them out. I think we all feel like we're putting everyone out. We all collectively need to get over that and just
Yeah.
let people help us.
That is such incredible words of wisdom and advice. I absolutely love that. That's, yeah, a big thing as well. Like with the community, no one really realizes until
Mm.
they've kind of started going through that door. And, even a lot of specialists and stuff, I know I've been to them and they're like, okay, like you can join this Facebook page. I'm just like, there's other people? Like, there's a
Yeah.
Facebook page?
People are
What? Like,
talking to each other. Like, I don't
yeah,
just have to talk to a doctor.
yeah.
I did
Literally,
not
like, I
know
don't
that.
just have to write it in my journal. Like,
Mm.
other people, I can talk to them and they understand.
Yeah.
Like, what is this madness? But
Yeah.
it's very lucky, especially kind of in this day and age. That sounds really old saying that, but with like the digital world, how it is now.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you and me are connecting from other sides of Australia,
Yeah.
and very grateful for the internet and all of
Yeah.
that bringing people together and helping one another.
Absolutely. People focus so much on the negatives of social media and technology, but there really are some great positives. And I think in the world of any illness, it's a great help because, like, I would not know, for example, that you could get endometriosis in your lungs
Yeah.
if it wasn't for social communities. I never would have heard that. I guarantee you a doctor never would have told me that. So let's say one day I got symptoms of that. No one would figure it out. I wouldn't be highlighting it to a doctor. They certainly wouldn't be looking for it. So thank God we've now got these ways of learning more.
100%. And, that's such a huge thing is we don't get told this stuff. And it's not until someone else, shares their experience. For example, the marina, my lord. Like, I wouldn't have known that half the issues unless I heard it from other people and then got my own scan. You just
What
don't know
happened
these
with
things.
yours?
Mine, after I think 3 years, perforated my uterus. Mm,
That's awful.
that was real fun. Real fun.
I remember I think it was called a NuvaRing. This was a
Yeah.
really long time ago. I don't know if you would know of it, but I remember I got really bad migraines for 3 days and I couldn't get out of bed. Didn't even connect the dots. Just went to see a GP and they were like, oh, maybe it's your NuvaRing. I was like, oh, like that. I would not connect my vagina with what's happening to the pain in
No.
my brain. Like, they're not near, I just wouldn't. So I took
Yeah.
it out and instantly it went away.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just see so many people through my Kosi account sharing awful stories of things that happen to them with what are supposed to be treatments. I'm not here to, have opinions on any of it because I'm definitely not an expert. I just
Yeah.
see stories a lot in my role. And
Yeah.
it's just terrible that so many things go wrong.
Oh, 100%. And obviously, you don't know until you try. It's going to be
Mm,
different for absolutely everyone.
yeah.
everyone's going to have a different experience.
Yeah.
So for someone that, my Mirena perforated my uterus, I know other people that have had theirs and theirs is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So it is very different for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think having that community where you can just be aware of the risks
Yeah.
or aware of things that you don't actually get told from a pamphlet or a doctor, it just changes the entire journey and experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Amazing. This conversation has been so incredible, and I honestly thank you so much for your time and sharing your story and experience.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
For this episode, even I was just like, oh my God, I love, so valuable for me. So I can only imagine, the women and people that are going through something similar or whatever it may be, actually feel heard, and that there are actually people out there that are trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love if you could share where people can find you and also buy your amazing heat packs. I'll make sure to leave the links in the show notes below as well.
Yeah, no problem. So our website is kosi.au and our Instagram is kosi_au. People can DM me anytime if they want to just chat about the things they're going through, whether it's endo or infertility. I absolutely love chatting to people, and I do chat with people all the time about what's going on because obviously I've shared a bit about my journey, so it resonates with people. So feel free to slide on into my DMs.
I love that. Oh, this was such an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Thanks, Kayla.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you loved this app, make sure to leave a review on wherever you're listening so I can keep producing more episodes you love. If there is someone you would love to hear from within this series, please make sure to send me a DM so I can lock in even more epic conversations for you to listen to. And don't forget to come follow me on Instagram for more of my chaotic, unfiltered chats at KaylaPage_podcast. Until next time.